My fascination with cars started when I was a kid. It started with like my dad telling us stories about his 68 GTO that he bought brand new at Boomershine Pontiac in 1969 or so. These stories of him drag racing up and down the streets. He sold it to go to college, and we found one just like his. It's right here, and it's almost identical to the one that he had. It doesn't handle like the modern cars. It lumbers down the road, if you will. That started to build like this glamorization of cars for me when I was a kid. Unfortunately, that turned into like a desire to tinker with things and take things apart. But I didn't have the skill set to put them back together. When I was about 6 years old, my great-grandmother, she was pretty old at the time, and I asked her, hey, aren't you afraid that you're gonna die? And she said, no, not at all. And I was like, well, that's interesting, because I'm terrified. And she was like, well, let me tell you about Jesus. It did kind of give me a center, like an anchor, if you will. And then it just kind of, I put them on a shelf. And when I think that I need to, enlist in God to help me, that's when I'm to pull them off the shelf and, hey, I need you to get me out of this. I made a mess again. I took something apart. Hey, God, can you help me? Our daughter was really good friends with a young lady named Cadence. So she begged Casey, my daughter, to start coming to church with her, coming to student ministry. Casey would come home and say, hey, listen, y'all got to come. I mean, you really have to come. And I was like, I don't know. I've heard of 12 Stone, but she wouldn't let up. Ended up going to a Sunday service. It was home. It was immediately home. I joined a men's group on Saturday mornings at Panera, and we joined another group. It was a couples group with Aaron and Ashley, Cadence's parents. I'm starting to shed labels of who I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be a father, a son, a brother, an uncle, a boss, a business owner. And in the freedom of small groups, I'm able to shed them off, and I'm able to find that kid that was taking apart everything that I could put my hands on. And I started to find out who I was. I could see this version of myself that I had lost. Going back to small groups is also how I was able to truly accept Jesus. God really put it on my heart to say, listen, you've got a passion for cars. It's time for you to do something. So I started to listen to what God said, what he put onto me. And it was go out. One of the cool things about having Faith in the Furious as a small group of car enthusiasts, whether you own a car or not is irrelevant. And even though it's in the parking lot, which we meet in the parking lot at the 12 Stone campus Fridays, that's intentional. That's so people driving down 124 can look over and see. Somebody sees cars on the side of the road, they're gonna stop and ask a couple questions. It's all about just somebody who wants to show up in a parking lot that has a passion. In the auto enthusiast world, they have got just a profound knowledge of their passion. These people who may not ever step foot into a church parking lot are coming into our parking lot. They're stopping, they're getting our information, we're getting a chance to share Jesus with them. They're going out back to their things, but that there's a little seed that's planted at that point. It started out as like fellowship, and now it's turned into a little bit more of discipleship mixed with fellowship. If you're thinking about joining a group, don't hesitate. Jump in, give it a chance.